evening, televiewers, and welcome to yet another exciting edition on our program, Mountain Echoes. Today we shall be taking exam preparation strategies less than 100 days. We started with that which was last week, 100 days to go. This time around is less than 100 days to go. Of course, they are busy with the regional mock and some other preparations are ongoing. And we think that since we're looking forward to sit in for the GC ordinary level and advanced level, baccalaureate and probatoire and CAP respectively, the month of June, which he said is compulsory, and August is selective, it is necessary that we look at these strategies of how to prepare these students, what the parents are expected to do, what the teachers are expected to do, what the society is expected to do, guardians are expected to do, in order to celebrate properly in the month of August, which is selective with the students, to avoid examination malpractices and some other kind of weird things in the examination room, late coming of course, and how to manage time. If the time is not well managed during preparations for examination, these same mistakes will be made during examination itself. That is why we have on board those who work with these young people in schools. We cannot be using maybe talking about young people and you bring maybe carpenters or maybe bricklayers or maybe those who work in the chantier. They may have their own contributions to play, but those who work with the students, he makes some kind of finesse. He gives some kind of finesse and he gives maybe justice to the program of today. We begin with the dean and the biology teacher. He's in CUP down here. It's Mr. Elvis Mufwa. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you for that. Good evening, televiewers. Good evening, dear panelists. I'm happy. It's a pleasure to be here on this edition of the program.
Yeah, part 2 this time around. I remember there are a lot of questions that we had last week, and we promised the viewers of DMRO TV that we Mountain Echoes precisely that will be coming back to this same topic, part 2. This time around is less than 100 days. On that last week Monday, it was 100 days to go. So it's less than.
It's actually 42 days.
42 days.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much. Dean of Studies, right?
Yes.
Okay, you're going to tell us more. Dean of Studies, they have a lot to do as far as examinations and everything with students. So the life of the student is concerned, and to prepare to make sure that they have a kind of what was the scores last year in your school down there in Moliko?
90-something%, about 98. Just the student field.
Okay, what's the name of the school? We're not doing a kind of showcasing of the school, but then we're talking about dean. Is it dean of all the schools in Boya, or maybe yeah, some persons may chase you immediately after this. That is it. So deaning, what's the name of your school?
It's actually CUP S&A Entrepreneur High School.
Okay.
The S&A stands for STEAM Academy.
Okay.
What does the CUP stand for?
Catholic University Institute of the Diocese of Boya.
Okay, so they have a nursery school. They have a primary, secondary.
If you want to look at that way, it's actually a complex.
Yeah.
Because that same area you have the nursery, the pre-nursery, the nursery, primary, secondary, and the university. Yes,
so you'll be talking with your principal and maybe I'm sure the proprietor, who is Bishop Michael Bibi, that Father Ernest is saying that we'll need you people come on stage to tell us more about the school when it's almost getting to, I'm sure, November, before September. Mr. Bakel, what do you think? Before rentrée scolaire for 2025-2026 academic year, to tell the viewers out there about this complex which begins with pre-nursery, nursery, primary, secondary, and high school and university, so that they should know what is existing there. Thank you very much, Dean of Studies. And
President Alifana, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I happen to work with my boss, with my senior colleague. I'm an economics teacher at that institution, and I think for 2 years running, our department has had to receive awards from the hands of the proprietor, the bishop.
Wow. For
very good results. And so that's the experience we're bringing today. Of course, we're going to be telling the public about this school. It is one of the most comfortable academic establishments you can think of, without sweet-talking anybody, without underestimating the importance of other schools, because I give classes in more than 6 schools. And so I want to seize the opportunity to greet my fellow panelists and salute the viewers out there. We have come again as curriculum implementers, as teachers, to help you prepare very well for your exams, to give you what you need to celebrate in August, because like we know, June, in less than 50 days, 42 days, we are going to begin exams, official exams. As we talk right now, we have almost all the regions in the country writing regional mock exams and other confessional schools taking their mock exams. And so we think that as a family of teachers and parents, we should come and bring you and help you, our own students, because our evaluation as teachers is your success. If you succeed and succeed well, it means that we as teachers and parents and of course school administrators would have done our job. So our fervent hope is that at the end of today's discussion, which of course I think will be rounding up, would have been able to give you an additional tip or to remind you of some of the strategies you need to make August a month you will not forget.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Bakke, for the contribution. And by my right, we have Mr. Bo. Maybe you just tell the viewers and the very special friends of Mountain Echoes, beginning from Ekok. We have them there in Yumujok. We have them there in Bafia. We have them in Tole. We have them in
Ngolobolo.
Ngolobolo. Yes, we have them in Ngolobolo. We have them in Kumba, Fiango. They have them in the United States also. For America, we have some of them in Yaoundé. We have some of them in the western region of Cameroon. And you can name the rest. So just tell them a little about yourself and you know how you're preparing for the examinations which are upcoming 42 days precisely, like Mr. Elvis said.
Yeah, for that, thank you very much, and I wish to welcome all the viewers or televiewers of Divine Mercy radio and television. It is really a good program. Very touching because in the academic milieu, a good number of students in different areas are actually watching. We have those in Furawa, Funkankang, Kurumanjang, you know, Mogode, and all that. They're up in Britain, Germany, and so on, France, America, and we are watching the Divine Mercy radio television. Presently we are getting to exams, and we said the regional mock is being written. It's going on now, and I want to bring out that further. We have just written, getting to an end. We have ended the Catholic diocesan mock already.
Yeah,
we all the Catholic schools in the diocese to just go our sister schools called
Sase Biroko, CKC, Mount Carmel, I'm sure, St. Paul's, Henricettas, and St. Anne. Yeah. Okay, we'll be coming back to that, Mr. Bo. And Mr. Mike, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, thank you very much. Special greetings to all the co-panelists, curriculum implementers. Special greetings to my younger man, Young Marvelous, who's also preparing for his GC examinations, and to all those listening to us right down at Isangele Indian Division, especially those who are preparing for the exams.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for stay tuned, for there is much we have kept in stock for you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mike. We set the ball rolling. We had a lot last week, and we think this time around we need to manage time. Time is very, very important. It's far more important as far as every activity on earth is concerned. That is why we had, you know, there's a time frame for God to create the world. You know, all those things, he had them. Exactly. If those things were not arranged, it would have been chaos in the society today or in the universe. So too with the young people out there, if you are testing me, Mr. Bakke, if those things are not well arranged, especially time, they are going to mess up during examination. So can we just talk a little about this whole thing of time? Two of you, it happens to work in the same institution. How do you prepare? I'm not saying that maybe it can be a kind of a model for others to follow. How do you prepare your students, you know, as they get into the public exam, which is like Mr. Elvis said, it's just 42 days to go. And some are still sleeping and they get up at 7 a.m. And some do, I'm still thinking of maybe they will begin preparations maybe in the month of May or after Easter. And some are attending maybe vigil or maybe all night kind of crusade, and they're saying that no, when it is May, that's when they're going to open their books and the rest. So what do you have to tell us?
Unfortunately, even after seeing all of these things, there are some learners who will not still be able to implement. So what we are saying here is that the source and summit of you passing this exam is proper time management. Everybody has the 42 days. So how do you manage your own 42 days to be able to give yourself a good exam and of course even a better result? So we are talking about time. Of course, this is not all about you, the students, because the time management factor is even on us two teachers, on the administrators, on your parents, and of course the society where you find yourself. So how do you manage your time? The very first thing is there is a difference between a need and a want.
Yeah.
A candidate, a student, a learner is supposed to know at this time what he or she wants, because you cannot spend an hour or two watching a movie, a non-academic movie, and you expect to pass. So the very first thing you have to do is to identify now those subjects or those topics that are more difficult, let me put it that way, that are disturbing a little, so that you can be able to give them more hours. We have gone beyond the stage of study timetables. That's what we discussed last week. So we assume even correctly that at this point any serious learner would have established a well defined timetable. So our problem is how to manage, how to use that timetable, and that is where the factor of discipline comes in. So we are looking at both time management and discipline, because for you to manage your time very well, you have to be self-disciplined. See, my students, let me tell you something. I want to be very frank with you, especially those of you in class 6 and those of you in form 5. At least the upper 6 students have tasted success before.
Yeah.
They know what it means
to pass and what it means to
so
fail.
It's easier to talk to an A-level candidate because an A-level student is already a step into the university.
Yeah.
And he or she wants to get there. Our problem at this is these ones in form 5 who are still fighting with puberty. Unfortunately. So my dear students, you have to sacrifice time. The places you go to should be places that help you to study. The company you keep should be the company that can help you to study. And remember, this is a time when sleep will be sweeter. But you should also know that there is something at the end of this. So you have to sacrifice your time. Make sure you get enough rest after school. Even a 30 minutes, 1 hour rest will help you in the evening. So when you come back from school, maybe assume that you get to the house at 5 p.m. At this 5 p.m., you should be able to have a bite. Something light, not very heavy. And then you catch some sleep, you rest. We would have been talking around 7 p.m., 8 p.m. We are going to get to your parents because in these 42 days, parents should be more aware that their children have exams, and so they are part of this discussion.
Yeah.
So when we get to your parents, we are going to remind them. Some of them are collaborating very well. At least for some of our parents in Cube, that also accounts for why we have good results.
Okay, I'm sure Mr. Evis, could you maybe just tell the viewers a little about that?
From what Mr. Marquez said. Last time we spoke about the students having a realistic
timetable, yeah.
But we have just for the 2 days.
Yeah.
I think just relying on that timetable now may not work. So by now, a candidate should draw out a roadmap towards the GC, and that roadmap could be maybe a weekly or bi-weekly kind of program, study program. In essence, they could say, okay, like the 42 days is actually 6 weeks remaining. So in the 6 weeks, how do I study? And dear students, I really want to emphasize that one thing which we'll have to discuss later, you can draw up a weekly program. So say first week, maybe this week, you go through all the key concepts in the various subjects you're offering. So you take maybe for economics, you outline all the key concepts because most of the questions are going to be around the key concepts.
Yeah.
And then you try to take, maybe jot them somewhere. And then the week after next, that's the second week out of the 6 week, you can begin looking at the structure of past GC questions and so on.
Yeah.
And then the third week, the 6th week, you could actually go now trying to do some deep reading, the areas where you had difficulties in the course of the academy and so on. And then by the 4th week, you should actually be doing a summary, kind of summary in the various subjects, so that the very last week before the GC, you are not actually reading new things or new topics, because that is going to put you in a very dire situation where, pressure comes in, anxiety comes in, you begin to have the idea that you are not well prepared, which is very dangerous. So they should have that roadmap, 6 week roadmap from now. They follow that kind of a program. I think is going to help them.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll be coming to that when you talk about maybe the key topics or what maybe to follow. There are still some persons who cannot really make kind of a distinction. We'll be coming to that because we are helping these learners how to manage these things. For example, maybe we could take something in economics, we could take something in biology, maybe a particular topic, maybe we'll put, maybe for example, you could talk of the key the topic, you talk of topics, and then concepts, the key concepts, and then maybe after that, what do we think? Maybe could give a showcase an example. We'll be coming to that so that it can help them. You should be like a kind of example, and then they'll apply it in the other subjects. We'll have it in economics, we'll have it in biology. Sure, maybe Mr. Boy is going to tell us maybe where we could put it also. Maybe we could have maybe 2 or 3 examples from 3 different courses or maybe subjects that the learners do carry out in school. Then they could apply it in other subjects. We could just take, for example, maybe you're talking about, let's go maybe to religious studies. Maybe you're talking about the commandments of the church. You have something there, and then maybe you go to the other maybe the subtopics there, how they can handle it. Because one of the difficulties is to maybe to identify those key concepts. Because when you have them, like you said the other time, maybe you could make a kind of a formula with that will guide you on the next things to follow. If you do not have that, you may have that difficulty in maybe answering questions that you see in the examination past, or maybe
I think that is where the teachers come in. That is the role of the teacher to guide the learner. You know, these learners these days are very fragile. They are easily distracted. And we have as a task to guide these learners. Let me take the case of economics. I want to be very practical here. Economics has principally 13 topics. And all of these 13 topics will be tested. In a normal economics exam, are supposed to be tested. But we have 8 major topics. Let me take the case of O levels, or come to A levels later. A normal O level exam has paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 has 50 multiple choice questions, like any other, and 8 essay questions, out of which the candidates are expected to answer 5. So of these 13 topics, they will be tested 50 questions from all of these 13 topics. We have major topics, which, of course, when we come to paper 1, we have 5 questions each from these 8 major topics. Let me cite some of these major topics so that these learners can be able to follow up with us. For us to say that a candidate has passed O-level economics, that candidate should show mastery of some of these major topics. For example, we begin with Form 3 economics. Form 3, there are just 2 topics in Form 3 economics, 2 main topics. That's the introductory knowledge, or the introductory ideas, and production. And so, in any normal exam, be sure that you'll be tested on this. You come to Form 4 economics, there are 3 topics in Form 4, 3 main topics in Form 4 economics. We have business units, population economics, and then the celebrated price theory, or what people call demand and supply. So there is no way you can write an exam in this country that you will not be tested on demand and supply. So any candidate, you're going to have 5 multiple choice questions from that topic and 1 essay question. So anybody, for whatever reason, maybe you were not taught properly, or you did not like the teacher, you don't like the topic, know that there are 5 questions you'll not be able to answer in paper 1, and there's 1 of the 8 that you'll not be able to answer in paper 2. So we come to Form 5 economics, which is the backbone. We have money and banking, it's a major topic. We have international trade, we have national income, we have public finance, we have economic growth and development, agriculture. Most schools teach agriculture in Form 4, it's a Form 5 topic. Agriculture and industrialization, and then economic state intervention. So money and banking, international trade, public finance, national income are backbone. They are main topics that will be tested. So 5 multiple choice questions and 1 essay question. So a candidate should already know that if you are studying, because our syllabus begins from Form 3, you are going to have at least 10 questions from Form 3, at least 15 questions from Form 4, and of course at least 25 questions from Form 5 work. So that is where the teacher comes in to guide this learner. For no reason should you hate a subject, my dear student, because they have said, if you, for whatever reason you hate a subject, or you don't like to read it, some of you, when a candidate, there's this tendency for O-level candidates not to like demand and supply, and there's a tendency for A-level students not to like national income. And
those are fertile areas.
No, they are not only fertile. They are very fertile. In fact, let me use the word because there is no way we can give you a certificate in this subject when you don't show mastery of these concepts. So we are going to be telling you how you handle those difficult topics now, because you have just less than 50 days to go.
Yeah, we say thank you. They will have there are some persons here struggling to call us from Enugu, Nigeria. Good evening and welcome. We wish you all the best. Like I said last week, we're working on that to ensure that we could have a number where people can call and share, maybe ask for the contributions, or maybe ask maybe questions for us to answer. We're working on that. We thank you for.
I think it would be good if we can take direct questions from our learners.
Yeah. So we'll be working on that. You could text your difficulties that you have following the number you see on the screen and not calling, and then we could get to you directly. But as time unfolds, we are looking for that possibility where maybe the viewers could call us directly and then maybe share their opinions, or maybe if they have contributions or ask questions. And we're working on that, like we promised you. We're working on that to see how that can be possible. They have snapped the storm script. Mr. Mbake is here, and Father is right from Enugu, and I've just forwarded the screen. So thank you for being part and parcel of us. We have viewers of Mountain Echoes right in Enugu, precisely in Nigeria. So thank you.
By some beautiful coincidence, we have had to train so many students taking WAEC.
Yeah.
So we equally have an insight. When I was teaching in Seka, we have so many students, and so many of them in Kumba taking WAEC exam. So it's the same thing. We are talking about exam strategies.
Okay.
We are not talking about a particular exam.
Yeah.
So the same exam strategies for GC, you can use them in the WAEC. Okay. So we want to thank you for following us from Enugu.
Yeah, thank you very much. We have another caller. Please, we are begging. We take messages, and only messages for now. We cannot really take calls. For now. We are working on that. Mr. Bo, we've been talking about this whole thing of time and timetable. Back then, what do you have for the students as far as this issue of time is concerned? Because like what we discussed last week, we've realized that time is of paramount importance. If time is not well managed, if the timetable, we have just 42 days to go, things will fall apart as far as, and some of the parents will blame the teachers. And of course, they do pay you people, and they expect that as they pay the teachers, though maybe the money may not be enough, because as compared to what you give to the students or maybe the learners, much is expected from you. So they expect that you do your best. So what are you telling these parents now, and the learners themselves in particular, as far as time management is concerned, timetable issue?
Yeah, Father, thank you very much for that beautiful question. Sometimes we say procrastination is a kill of time. A good number of students always say, I'll read tomorrow. I'll speak. Then sometimes they go, even despite all what the teachers have done, giving them material, cover the syllables, and they come back, they won't speak.
Yeah.
What they can limit themselves and then get directly to the sources. Time management is very, very important. Within this particular moment, I wrote exam preparations strategies 50 days.
Yeah.
And then I try to give week 1 to 2. What do you do?
Yeah.
Weeks 3 and 4. What do you do?
Yeah.
So there needs to be a program on that. We talk about revision, to review and refresh. Refresh, we have to gather, go back. I always cite that within our period, Mr. Elvis move forward, we're going to Mr. Bake and the brother here, we're going to reflect on that. Sometimes our students depend very greatly on just our notes before we get to, at this particular moment. Even though we talk about of time, many students squander their time. We go back to Averos, go to JHS Bokova, get to CUPE, go to Bishorogan College and others. What entails what our students do within the time that they don't have classes? They sit around, chat issues that don't even relate to academics. Mm-hmm. It's wasted of time. It's time wasted. When they get back home, there's a lot of distraction. Zewell, Novella E, and all that. So time management, within this time, we need to go back to say, one, let us gather our notes. And when we gather our notes, we'll program it. If we are gathering our notes, we don't reflect only on the notes that the teachers have given us. I say, for example, those people are reading, who are doing sciences. What do? you can be able to open to New College Chemistry by OCU Ababio, online level chemistry by GK and others. So we get the textbooks, we get the notes and put them aside. The next thing we review them. Then after that we program. We have to go back to check past questions, quiz to prick our memories. And then after that, this week, then next week, after checking the questions, we get back to our teachers. What area do I look through that I have some difficulties? We make a wasted of time. Yes, the timetable is there. We program ourselves, but within this time, there needs to be some program. Now, after going through that, and we know that, okay, within this particular moment, this is our difficulties. Let us check the areas where we have difficulties. They have taught through the academic year, yes. There are areas that we have not mastered. What do? Do we put more time there? And if you have to put more time, now we look, we get other research, and then we get to our teachers. Fortunately for us, a good number of teachers are very open anywhere. There are very few teachers that no matter where you meet, and I think I've not met one, you ask questions, they are ready to help. But our students are lazy. When they succeed, they think of themselves and then they go to give thanksgiving to pastors and they forget about the teachers.
But we're coming back to that. We have two questions here, one for the dean and the other one for Mr. Baquet. The first is answering past question not more important now to you? This is from Mr. Fee Blaze from Tico. Answering of past question now, is it not important?
Father, I'll answer the question, but I will still go back to the aspect of understanding the key concepts.
Yeah, okay.
For a candidate who just wants to go, maybe take the route of looking at past questions and then even looking at the tailored answers to those questions, maybe from past, from polycops or pamphlets as they call them, is dangerous. Because what you are doing is that you are simply memorizing without understanding the key concepts. And the danger is that you may end up memorizing those concepts, but then the GC board can use maybe a past question and then just change the wordings this time around, a question twist, and then you'll not be able to apply that flexibility of knowledge will not be there because you have just simply memorized past questions and answers. I'm not saying it's not important, but the focus should be on understanding the key concepts. I go back to economics, the topic price theory. You have things like demand, supply, equilibrium, inelastic and elastic demand, for example. So if a student can actually grasp the difference between elastic and inelastic demand, then they will be able to analyze where if the government increase taxes, where will the burden fall? Will it be on the producers or on the consumers? But if you just go memorizing the definition of those things, certainly they are going to have questions that will require them to recall, to provide answers, the testing the ability to recall, and then they can provide those answers. But then, if you understand the concepts and you have those twists and turns in questions, you'll be flexible enough to provide the answers. The answers may not be there, but you still be able to navigate through, and then even though not arriving at the final answer, but you have something partial answer which can earn some reasonable marks. So my dear learner, I think in as much as having those pathways is important, going through the pathways is important, but you should also focus on understanding the key concepts. And just an appeal to the colleagues now, at this point in time, no colleague should go into a class and introduce a new topic.
Okay.
They should rather focus, the colleague themselves should have past questions, go through the past questions maybe over a period of 10 years and see the areas that are commonly tested. And then go to class and tell the learners that, okay, for a period of 5 years or 10 years, this is where most of the questions come, and and then tell the candidates to dwell on those areas and then emphasize on those key concepts and so on.
Yeah, then to Mr. Evis, and are teachers not also involved in losing students by giving them the so-called speckle? This is still from Fee Bless from Tico.
Yeah, unfortunately, very unfortunately, so many teachers have reduced themselves to even beggars. It is disheartening that we find teachers who speculate with their students. We find teachers who leak exams that are meant to test their students' level of preparedness. I'm talking about mock exams or internal exams. So unfortunately, some teachers are part of the ugly situation, because in as much as students are speculating, some of their teachers journey with them for a few francs or for some cheap popularity. I think that this teaching is not for everybody. We know it's a vocation. Teaching is not just a profession, it's a vocation. It's not for everybody. I want to come back to this examination past questions. I think this is a time learners need these past questions, but with the guidance of their teachers, like my senior colleague said. Now, let me go back to an O-level candidate. How do you study with past questions for these 40 days? Let's assume that you have registered 10 papers. Go back to your GCE timetable from today or from tomorrow. Start reading from your last subject. This is a strategy which is very practical, because now you are supposed to read through at least more than once. You are supposed to read a subject completely from Form 3 to Form 5. In fact, you are supposed to finish the entire syllabus more than once. For you to write this exam and be confident, you should have gone through all your work more than once. And how do you go through all your work more than once? This is the strategy. From today or from tomorrow, go back to your GCE timetable, which I know that you have it because you are registered for the exam. This timetable you should have pasted on your wall. If religious studies is your last subject you write in the GCE, it should be your first subject you start reading from now.
Yeah.
And you are going to spend at least 2 days. Let's take a maximum of 3 days per subject. At most 3 days. At most, not more than 3. So in 3 days, you should be able to read your one subject completely from Form 3 to Form 5. And how do you read this time? You read this time with past questions. Alongside past questions. Mm-hmm. You read a particular, if you are reading a topic, for example, elasticity of demand.
Yeah.
Elasticity of demand. Get questions that have tested elasticities. What are the various parts of elasticity that has been tested? Maybe the importance of price elasticity, maybe the various types of elasticity, the importance to the government, the importance to the businessman, the nature of elasticity, because there are 5 natures. At extremes we have inelastic and elastic, in the middle we have unit, and then fairly elastic and fairly inelastic. So that by the time you are reading elasticity, you know that you are reading and answering a question. Or you are answering a GCE question of 2021 that tested the importance of price elasticity to the government. So you are reading alongside questions, and you are actually answering questions. And again, when you have these past questions and you are reading, and there are some parts which you cannot interpret or understand, or maybe answer them because they have not been taught or they were not taught properly, jot them down. Write down those questions or the part that you cannot understand. Bring them to school. If you bring them to school, firstly discuss with your teachers, who of course are more informed than you. Go and ask them. And when a teacher teaches you and you understand, this is a strategy. Go back and teach your friend that concept. If you teach somebody what you have understood, it's like singing, which is praying twice.
Yeah.
You would have been.
You benefit yourself.
You benefit yourself. Mm-hmm. You study twice. So endeavor to discuss concepts with your friends. That's a cooperative learning, it's peer learning. That is why I said that for you to manage your time very well, be mindful of the company you keep. Be mindful of the friends you keep around you. There should be friends that can help you. Your discussions now should center around a conscious student. Would not waste time discussing Manchester United, Real Madrid, Barcelona.
Or who had the odds and or maybe
a
better odds.
Conscious then now will be discussed. In fact, you should be afraid. Each time you think of the exam, there should be that fright.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like this. Hey, my friend in Ngawa is reading. My friend in Kumba is only reading. What am I doing here? You gain consciousness. Manage your time in such a way that don't go and spend more than 2 hours in church. What are you doing in church? In as much as going to church is good, discipline yourself.
Yeah.
2 hours, even in eating. A conscious day will not spend more than 15 minutes in eating. What are you eating there? Finish that thing and go to your study table. So get past questions and start reading from your last subject. If you have 10 papers, you would have used 30 days to read your entire syllabus more than once.
Yeah,
we can take the last 12 days now
to
just do the final touches and seek counsel from your teachers and of course the curriculum implementers.
Yeah, Mr. Michael, I'll be silent and maybe
I
have
just
something
think
to add.
I want to add something to that.
Yeah.
That like just repeating what they have been saying. Not you cannot say it enough. Past questions now should be guidelines. The danger with answering past questions now is that students want to memorize. They want to memorize an answer.
Yeah.
But there is no perfect answer to any question in the.
So what do you tell these views about speku?
You should use them.
What's asking about speku? Yeah.
No, not speku. No, please.
Okay. Because that's a worry. That students are getting, the teachers are lazy and they are contributing to students being lazy by giving them the so-called speku.
No,
this is still from a
like Mr. Mafra said a while ago. The idea is not about getting having a prototype answer. It's about understanding the concept. These questions, if you get a question on any subject or on any concept or any topic, you go back now and understand the concept entirely, wholly, and then that can help you. Now you know that this is the way this question could be asked. It could be asked this other way. It could be asked. Once you have understood the concept, then you are good to go with the question becomes a guideline. And it is a very terrible thing for teachers who are either abetting cheating, because I think, to me, you are cheating the student when you are giving them those specos. You are cheating them their study time. You are cheating them the rightful use of their minds, because the brain is such a powerful tool, and you are limiting the students to your own answers.
There are some teachers, sorry to cut you, I see some teachers, I hope maybe you have words for this kind of teachers. Maybe when it is after school hours, for example, they have this 2 hours class somewhere in the quartier, in the quartier, and they're going to pay maybe 1,000 francs, and they say, yeah. So what do you have for those kind of, and the classes are always full. You see people, there are some students standing, just to, that is this man is very special kind of guy.
They are opportunists. They are just taking advantage of the young minds' fright in the midst of these upcoming exams. Those are just opportunists. They are not good teachers. And for the fact, they'll answer for it.
Yes, I'm sure maybe Mr. Ivo has something.
When I say that it is disheartening, I mean it.
Yeah.
Some colleagues are very wicked. In fact, they go on social media and advertise their businesses. Yeah. So students know that so many persons will come in the name of teachers to tell you that they have speku. They want to get money from you. Let me bring a practical example here without advertising any school. 2 days or 3 days ago, where I was invigilating an exam in St. Therese, and a candidate was caught with a phone that had mock questions. And the administration treated us so well. They just blocked all the students in the hall, and they did a search. They caught more than 50 phones with mock questions in those phones. Now, this is what even bites me the more. Some of these teachers, these charlatans, have sold out questions to students, but my worry is the students themselves. You have been given whatever question, you cannot even memorize the answer and come and attempt the questions in class. You snap or do whatever with the answers and bring the phones to the hall to come and copy from your phone or to copy AI answers.
Yeah.
Now let me warn these students. If you have not been warned before, let me warn you. Any examination malpractice in this country is not tolerated. It is a ban. It is a ban of at least 3 years. So be mindful of what you do now. There are many charlatans. There are many teachers who will come and give you, any teacher who is giving you speku does not like you. He or she likes their money. He or she is doing business and know that he doesn't care about you. And they are doing this to make the students know that they have the clean water, as they call it. They have the real GC equations. They don't have GC equations. They cannot even have GC equations. They have played their games. They have given you more questions because they want to win your favor.
Their confidence.
Yes, their confidence, to know that they are doing real business. But know that even if a teacher gives you, because there are some teachers who are guided by the Holy Spirit to teach. Yes, a teacher may go and revise a concept when that concept has been tested. And I've seen terrible things in Douala, Father. Very terrible things. So if a teacher revises a concept and that concept is tested, it doesn't make that teacher a demigod who sees questions.
Just a coincidence.
It's just a coincidence. And therefore, even if no, it's possible. Even if a teacher gives you a question, if you have not read, If you have not studied,
It's useless.
it's useless.
Yes.
The temptation for you to go and copy the question somewhere, you prepare material and bring to the examination hall. And once you are caught, you go down for it. I tell my candidates, my students, when we're in class, we are friends. But when it comes to exams, you are candidates, I'm an examiner. So that nobody calls me a bad name tomorrow. So please, even if they'll give you SPECO, which I strongly advise you against, study, read. Because even the SPECO questions come where you don't have an answer, you may drag yourself into more trouble.
Father, I also think this is an opportunity to shun the teachers who neglect their regular teaching time in order to take advantage of these moments.
And those classes are mostly in the evening.
Yes, some teachers don't even teach throughout the academic year, and are waiting for these moments to give the students SPECO. You are destroying the students, and on the last day we are Christians, so we cannot keep.
So Mike, what do you tell the proprietors and the principals and those who have schools and they're in charge of these teachers? What do you tell them?
There should be a level of follow-up. I take the example I saw again from a university in Yaoundé. Before the students write the exams, there is an evaluation form that is meant to evaluate how the level of coverage and to test the children's appreciation of their teacher. There are questions tailored to that purpose. So there should be a manner of evaluation for every teacher in every department. There are heads of departments that can handle that. There are deans of studies that can handle that. So proprietors and school administrators should find a way to evaluate teachers throughout as much as students have continuous assessment. I think teachers too should have a level of continuous assessment, because there are a lot of adventurers in the field. It's
I think let me add my voice to my brother's voice. Dear colleagues, it is not a few francs you make from the student's pocket that will give you a good car. As a matter of fact, your conscience should judge you. You should know that you are a father, you have children, and I'm pretty sure you'll not be happy if somebody derails your own child. Don't sit behind and gather students in a quarter and you start assuming for yourself titles that only you and God know. See, if you go to the other further, colleagues have all kind of titles, eyes of the gods. Last man standing. I mean, just to make the students know that,
and they believe in those persons.
Unfortunately for us, these students who are not serious get more serious only now, and they believe whatever story you tell them.
The eyes of God.
Yes. I mean, the kind of titles they bear.
We will be coming to that. We have good evening to the panelists on Mountain Echoes. I want to really appreciate my colleagues who are doing their best to drill the students to succeed in the end of the year certificate exams. What advice can we give to the students who are to begin with the practicals in the next 42 days? Aloysius Ngufak, DM of SASE. So practicals, I'm sure they are to begin with that. What precisely do we tell these students? Practicals, these are two things. The theory, we've been talking about our theoretical part of it. Practicals that you need to. If you do not know, you will not. I don't know if they do maybe SPECO or maybe they do kind of examination malpractices as far as practicals are concerned. So what do we tell these students? Practicals.
I was something since I'm a science teacher.
Yeah.
I think the practical subjects, science subjects, so to speak, you have for advanced level, you have biology, chemistry, physics, and geology, ICT, computer science, and there's food sciences too. At the honor level, we have food and nutrition, and
this other one that they prepare food in school, like which one is that?
You have you have food sciences in high school, and you have food and nutrition, the first cycle. As Form 5. For the other practical subjects, I really want to say that for physics, chemistry, and biology, which I know very well, and I think the other practical subjects too as well. Just the practical exam itself, there's something there, an evaluation, a pre-evaluation before the practical itself, which is about 10 marks, and that's giveaway. I tell the students of biology, we call that pre-evaluation the SBA. There's a form they call the SBA. The teacher, in the course of the academia, evaluates the students' work using their lab manuals, and of course, the marks there depends on the students' input and the students' participation during the practical lessons. And so that evaluation is 5 on the teacher's part. And so the student who participates very well during practical sessions can have all of that 5 marks. And then on the day of the GC practical itself, the person who comes from the GC board to supervise that practical, they call them center supervisors, goes through the teacher's the school, the teacher's evaluation, and goes through again the candidate manual and give another 5 marks to make 10. And talking about the practicals, is this one doesn't really need memorization and so on. And
Maybe you
like
need to
key
get their
concepts.
tools and some kind of, what are the
It's
things that they need
it's
to
hands-on.
Yeah.
Because you know, it tells kinetics, they call it, I don't know, kinesthetics. And so
So the parents, are they supposed to contribute maybe to get these things, or they come and meet their things in school?
Both schools, like most of the college schools, and I think even some private schools, they charge a fee for that.
Yeah.
At the South Academy, there's what they call the practical fee for science students.
Yeah.
And which varies, from school to school. And so when the students pay that money, the school takes charge of managing the affairs of the science department. And everything from preparation and everything, the equipment, the tools, like for biology, the specimen for dissection and so on, microscope and everything which is needed, is provided for by the school. And so the students are, they are given those tools to carry out their practical lessons. Again, to say that this thing is hands-on, and so a student who is there to see what is being done during the practical session, stands a better chance of performing in the GC. But the tendency is that some of them, they take the practical lessons for granted, because it's most oftentimes maybe late in the afternoons, not actually late in the afternoons, after school, like 3:15 for us down there, and it runs to like 6 p.m. And so they find that time boring, and of course they think that is is something which they can just have it. But then a student who understands the importance of practicals, paper 3, it's actually paper 3, which is about 33% for biology, is about 30% of the entire exam. And so a student who applies his or herself well in the practical lessons and attends all practical sessions, sees what the teacher is doing, takes part in exercise, maybe for dissection you are dissecting, is for chemistry you are doing all of those qualitative and quantitative analysis and so on. For chemistry you're taking all of the formulas and so on and things like that, then you stand a better chance of passing that subject. Because I tell the students, a pass in paper 3 is most likely to take place. For the past years, I've marked scripts of students with 98 on 100. That's just paper 3. And generally speaking, most of the candidates, they score above 70. That's for candidates who have been taking part, in practical sessions throughout the academy year. But then you find scripts of candidates, paper 3, marked in the GC with 0. Scores, so you have scores like 0. And then you could easily just tell from the SB that form that the candidate was not actually attending practical lessons. And so if the candidate fails paper 3, then the chance of that candidate passing that subject is very small. So, dear students, as we are speaking now, I'm sure there are candidates who have not been attending practicals. And so there is one way to catch up, and the only way to catch up now, maybe to get the 5 marks from the teacher's evaluation, is making sure your lab manual is up to date.
Yeah.
For chemistry, biology, physics. You get it filled and all those things and so on. So that on that day when it's being evaluated.
Copying from others.
Actually,
Doing practicals?
To
To fill the manual.
just like we were talking about teachers who go about giving speculated answers and so on. There are even teachers now in the field who sell, already call them ready-made manuals. Manuals have been filled. And the danger is that it kind of gets that kind of manual, because the essence of you filling a manual, because for biology, for example, you have places where you have to draw.
Yeah.
And so by drawing, you are already practicing how to draw diagrams. So on the day of the GC paper 3, you may be required to draw one of those diagrams in any of those labs lessons. And so by filling your manual yourself, that's the first read, and then drawing the diagrams, you are practicing. We have candidates who sit like now, and they are going for those ready-made manuals.
Okay, I think to add to what the senior colleague is saying, it's very easy to pass the subject that has practical lessons. It's just for you to follow up. But again, I think that every student by now should understand the language of the subject. Each subject has its language, and for you to pass, you should speak in the language of that subject. The language of historians, you tell us about dates. I think in economics, we have 3 languages we use in economics. The first is prose, literature, history, which is common with all other subjects. You are expected to explain. You are expected to argue, to advise, by writing. And then secondly, we have the use of curves, diagrams. There is no way you can pass this or exam without knowing how to draw diagrams. That is the reason why a typical economics exam will have questions that will demand the students to draw.
Yeah.
That is because drawing a diagram or a curve is a language in economics, and it's a complete language in itself. For example, you can draw a demand. Before I forget, what's a complete diagram? It is a diagram that has well labeled axes, and it is even better with economics because when you have read, you have been reading and you feel tired, you feel heavy, you can just close the book. You start drawing curves. Now, in drawing a curve, you are actually resting by studying. So there is rest in the studies, and there is studies in the rest. So you should be able to understand that a diagram, because we have students who hate drawing diagrams. I'm sorry to say this. They hate drawing. There's a topic in A-level economics, theory of the firm. I think theory of the firm is one of those few topics that makes use of all of these three languages. It has a lot of diagrams, and of course, the maths, small maths. So mathematics is the last language.
Afraid of mathematics.
Is the last language of economics. It's just small geometry even. It's just small arithmetic. It is not really maths. In fact, if you have to see maths in economics, meet us in the faculty. That's where you are going to see econometrics. Economics in matrices and matrices in economics. So there is no need for you to be afraid. For you to pass economics, pick any past question paper. You will see paper 1. You will see questions where you'll be warranted to calculate, or to draw, or identify, or to explain. That is why at O levels it is state and explain, or with the aid of a diagram.
Yeah.
So please, these are the 3 languages you must understand for you to be able to pass economics and pass well. You'll be expected to explain using literature prose. You'll be expected to draw curves, and at one point to calculate little calculations, bed rate, debt rate, gross national income, gross domestic product. What's there? These are little things. Price elasticity of demand. So this is a time when you should be able to get these past questions that have tested those things. If you cannot understand them, if you cannot explain them, come back to us. Come back to your senior brothers and sisters. Fortunately, most learners have some persons around them who have done related concepts. But I think it is risky for you to go to anybody now. Come back to the subject masters, and then teachers. Of course, you can always do the panel teaching, the collective teaching, departmental teaching. 4 or 5 teachers can get into a class and teach concepts. So by the time this person is saying this, the other colleague can add. This is a very good strategy. Maybe your students just need a change of voice to pass. Because until my mathematics teacher was changed in Form 3, I did not know that maths was one of the cheapest subjects. So maybe your students just need a new voice or a new face. So bring in other colleagues, bring in your brothers and sisters in the department to have a touch of your class. In that way, you are encouraging cooperative learning, because the students will see from you and they'll hear a new voice. Maybe your method may not be the best. It could be your brother's method. You have to be humble enough to also accept a small limitation. A teacher can have a challenge in a topic. It's possible. So you should be humble enough to identify that. You can bring in a colleague, maybe a colleague from a different school or the same department.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sure, Mr. Bo, can you just tell the students, maybe still on the strategies, preparations for the public exam, which will have 40 days to go, the beginning with practicals, the importance of study groups?
Yeah, Father, thank you very much for that question. Study groups are very important, and to comprise a study group, we need to mix them up.
Yeah.
There are the fast learners and the slow learners. There's no dull student.
Yeah.
We don't address them like that. The fast learners, because when we mix them up, it gives that color where those people are slow, they can be able to match up. So it is always good to get study groups. Down in Bishorogan, what they always do is that they create it. There's a master and then there's a head of a group where who leads, and then one who is smart student or one who is fast learners who is there to pilot. And then there are masters who are in charge of those very groups. Now, it is good because for those who are slow learners, what happens is that when they mix with those other people who are fast learners, they can be able to match up. They share, and their weaknesses can be able to be addressed. What has not been addressed in classes, in the classroom situation, can be able to. So they get themselves, sometimes they share topics, and they're able to have what we call exposés in those various topics. And when they make exposés, they now be able to measure their strengths and weaknesses. And those who are fast learners, who are their classmates, sometimes it's easier, or it is easier to learn from your own classmates, from the peer group. You listen, they have their own way, and in a very relaxed atmosphere that they can be able to share, and that helps a lot within these years. I think within the past years in Bishop Auckland College, for example, I think that has been very, very positive. Very, very positive. So studies groups are very important. So Father, sometimes
the groups should not be very large.
No.
So when can they form the study groups as they are preparing for exams? When can they form the study groups, and how many persons can be in a study group?
Not more than 10. Not more than 10.
So those who are not in maybe boarding houses, like those in maybe Lycée Moliko or GBHS, maybe in Boyetown, or the other one at Bokwango, and the others, maybe, or in Lycée Bilingue de Limbe, or Lycée Classique de Limbe, or maybe Comprehensive College Limbe, those ones who go back to their houses, how can they form how do you assist them to form maybe their own study group? And when can they meet?
They can still form it.
Yeah, because it's easier with those in boarding houses. Yeah,
they can still meet. Prof. Ivo Mbake, my namesake, and myself, we are in JHS Bukova. They used to have what we call extensive studies, which gets right to 4:30, 5. And those are study moments, and we don't just close at 3 o'clock to go back home. So there's some time where they can sit down to study. So within that particular moment, even if you are not in a boarding house, they can use some of that period able to share with their peers in those various groups, and not to idle around, because most of the time, sometimes you find students, when you create periods, and they always need supervision. They should not always depend only on their teachers, whether their teachers are present or not. Let them work.
They're supposed to be conscious.
Yes, they're supposed to be conscious that this is time for business, and they concentrate. So there is those schools that have not, which are day schools, and they have not created those extensive periods where they can be able to study after school up to at least about 5 before they go back home. I think that it is necessary for them to do that, because when they do that, apart from their normal classroom period, that extensive period, they can be able to create some days in which they can meet in their study groups and then share, carry on exposés, look at past questions. Then those people are slow learners. It can be an opportunity for them to be able to advise. There are some people who are weak, and then some people who not really actually weak. They are lax in their activities. They can be encouraged with their own peer they share their experience and how far they have covered and what is expected of them. Then they can be able to sit up. I think that's very necessary.
Yeah, maybe Mike has something to add to that.
To add to that,
because I'm sure maybe we have a huge number of these persons who stay in their houses and they go to school.
That's exactly where guardians and parents come into.
They may not really have that opportunity to meet with this group. They may have maybe about 30 minutes to stay. Some parents will not want their kids or maybe their children, their learners, when they are back after school hours, to go sit maybe in another person's house to sit at kind of study group. They remain. So what do you tell, because this is more for parents and guardians, what do you tell them? How do they follow up? And some persons believe that when you study groups really help, you really help. There are some persons when you move along with the study group, it helps you. But when you're back at home, you may be feeling as to sleep. But if you're there with your group members, if you're feeling as to sleep, maybe just the fact that they are there with you, and they are awake and alert, you risk, you will not want to sleep. And if you're alone, you may just find yourself sleeping and you're dreaming that you're reading before you open your eyes this morning.
I think that's important of peer influence. It has its role. We cannot deny it, and that's where guardians and parents come in. I think somewhere, somehow, parents now have to be more intentional about their students, their children's education and all of that. So it is possible that he's talking of 10. I would not even advise a study group of more than 5. Yes, or more than 5. So the parents could know the other parents and they are able to follow up their children's studies. There are parents who bigger, there are homes that are bigger that can accommodate a study group. So if I know that my parents are probably at Mr. Mofo's place or at Mr. Baker's place, that's where my children are, I could call maybe his wife or himself and ask him, my child left the house a while ago. I hope you are putting an eye on them as they're studying. So that's where the parents too come in at this point. When these children form these study groups, they need to be there as supervisors and as controllers, because there are stray ships who come into the folk, and instead of studying, they bring in discussions and all of that. So where if the children are studying where the parents are, there's some level of control, and it is very essential that either a guardian, a parent should be able to control, to know at every point, know where your child is and know how effective their study group is.
But I want to add something there.
Yeah.
What we say, some of these schools, like I want to cite JHS Bukova, for example, it's not a case of the parents. The teachers are there to monitor that. And we have teachers who are do the responsibilities. Those various schools where they work, we have studying.
What is this?
Fine, there are study masters who move around to be able to carry on that responsibility, which will be carried back at home. Yes, just to add to what he's saying. So even back in those schools, we don't necessarily need to go back home. They are still in school, in the school milieu, where that is being practiced. Sometimes we may get up to that 10 when the school is too large. Yeah, but if the group can be trimmed to a small quantity, fine and good.
See, the source and summit here is for these students to be serious.
Yeah.
These students, you have to be intentional about your own studies.
Yeah.
We are talking about your future. We are talking about your exams. And there is no way we can say anything here without you. It is just for you to be disciplined. It's for you to be extremely disciplined, to know that you have 42 days to change your own story. Yes, because your teachers have done their part, and I want to assure you that these few days that are left, you are going to face a lot of distraction, a lot of temptation, even from your friends.
Yeah.
So you have to stand your grounds, and write use your hand and write your own story, so that by the time the results are out, you have reasons to celebrate. So we are talking about you being disciplined and managing your time. It is true that we cannot do everything in class. We are also constrained. We have our own constraints. Time. It doesn't really affect you. It affects all of us too. And then, of course, parents, please. Let's support our children.
Mr. Mufo, there is something I want to direct to you. Sorry.
Anyway,
just 1 minute. I want to direct to you. Okay. We give the advice to students that they should commit themselves to studies. But most of the time, they still go around in small groups, conversing and squandering their time. I just want you to add to what you have to say about that.
Anyway,
have you noticed that in Q?
Not really.
Okay.
I was going to say that 2 blind persons or even 10 blind persons cannot leave themselves anywhere. And so we are talking about students, put themselves in study groups. But what are the ingredients? What is required?
Yeah.
So we are saying that
maybe the number of persons, which kind of persons also?
If it's 5, if it's going to be 5 persons, who are those in that group? Do you go just because like-minded persons, because you are friends, they call them kojo in the quarters, and people have nothing? There's nothing that's going to come up from that group. So the first of all, the learner should first of all identify themselves, their strengths and weaknesses. And I want to talk more on the weaknesses. So if you say, okay, I'm that kind of a learner who has, this weakness, look amongst your friends, those who are smarter, and then try to go closer to them and say, oh, I would like to study with you. And then you have those groups. In essence, in each of these groups, we should have students who are smart or smarter. So that while studying, there are 2 things, there are 2 objectives of having a study group. One is to give each student in that group that motivation to study while they're studying that group. And then secondly, to give the weak students in that group the opportunity to listen to their friends. Because the way your friend is going to explain maybe a certain topic to you, you may understand better than your teacher. So don't just go around forming study groups, because you people are always in the quarters and so on. Look for friends who are smarter than you. There's no harm in going there and say, oh, you are smarter than me, I want to
study with you and so on. And then further, I also want to say that, dear learners, right now, you should focus on activities that builds confidence.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that destroy candidates in the course of writing is low self-confidence.
Okay.
Yes. And some of the things too that can really bring down that self-confidence will be candidates who hang on a particular topic which they are not able to understand. And so it's going to really bring down that self-confidence. If a topic is disturbing you, move on. There are many other topics. Try to to build on those topics that you understand very well. That's going to help to build their self-confidence.
To add to that, Dean, I think no candidate should read his or her friend's diary or jotter now. Don't get into the summary of your friends, because the tendency is that when you pick your friend's summary now and see a topic, hey, I've not read this topic. You go there. You want to hear a friend talk about this other topic. Jesus Christ, I've not touched this one. So before you know it, you are being guided by your friends. So, like the senior colleague has said, if you have a challenge with a particular topic, don't stay there. That's the same thing we tell you when you are writing your multiple choice exams. When you get to a question that is too difficult, don't remain there. Move to other questions. Move to other topics that are cheaper, so that you know that, okay, at least of the 10 topics, I've understood 8. These other 2, I can manage. Let me get questions or my teachers to help me. Don't go and remain on those 2 difficult topics and you start killing yourself. And then again, to reduce or to fight against anxiety on your examination day, endeavor that you go to school early. Because if you don't go to school early, you get nervous, you get anxious, and before you know it, even the little material that you've had. Fortunately for us, we are going to be meeting. You'll be meeting your teachers in your schools to guide you. I doubt if there is any school without an examiner as a teacher. And so for you to have an examiner as a GC examiner, I think it's an additional, it's a plus, because a good examiner already knows the don'ts and the do's and how he or she can prepare the learners for the exam.
Yes, this is a quick question to all the teachers. I'm sure maybe precisely the dean has a lot to say to this, and let me just put my shoes into that of Mama Etonde Anambwa. This time around, what do you have for teachers who are still looking forward to make sure that maybe they have some kind of questions we don't know, either by crook or maybe by going through some kind of weird ways, and then and maybe distort the students from preparing 100% for the GC ordinary level and advanced level respectively?
Unfortunately, as the focus now on the examination malpractice is more on the candidates. You see, even on the form which they fill during registration, they call it G3. The sanctions are being spread out there. But I don't think there's any document that spells out the sanction against such teachers.
Yeah, so what do you tell maybe the big people as far as education is concerned? Up there, Mama Hannah, maybe she may get some of these things also and then try to implement them. She is very strict as far as that is concerned. But yes, she's someone who she's no nonsense Mama. She will not want to put her head where she's not supposed to put. So I think what do you tell them? Because there are still these persons who have the WhatsApp group shortly, maybe 2 weeks or maybe a month, yes, before GC and the rest, all those, and they pay money there, and there are some of our parents who pay the money online and offline. Yes. So what do you have to tell? And these teachers are there in our schools, in our colleges, and we may not. It's not necessary maybe to call the names of the schools, but they are there, and we pay their money at the end of the month, and they are still the ones who make ways. I don't know where they get those papers from. And some of them, the papers are the same. You maybe you agree with me, Mr. Bake. It happened last year that some of those papers, you see them, it is what the freshman will call motamo with what they saw in the hall. So what do you tell to this kind of persons? How would the students study? How would they prepare?
Father, if you ask me, these are civil servants, Mr. Bake, yeah. If you ask me, the best punishment I could think is transferring them maybe to a very remote area. But then punitive transfer. But
how do we have that situation?
If you do that teacher is going
to meet
more students and even more vulnerable students and even cause more damage. So I don't know if it's possible the delegate can go as far as maybe suspending a teacher.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to go with maybe
you send them to the delegation.
Some financial disadvantage, maybe suspending your salary. Yes. Those things should be spared out. That if
further, until a teacher is punished and punished publicly, some of our colleagues will not. Yeah. I set exams in this country, and I always cry. I feel so bad to hear, let alone discover that a colleague has leaked an exam. In fact, such colleagues should be called to order in public. First of all, they should be suspended. And if they are related to any GC board activities, they should be cut off. They should be cut off. And see, the Minister of Secondary Education in this country has served a teacher, a very fine administrator. Yes, very good language teacher, English language teacher. We think that she should, with her collaborators, thank God that we have a very fervent, no-nonsense regional delegate. Yes, very good administrator herself. We think that they should get to the root of this, because I can assure you that there are so many WhatsApp groups, so many, and the info, as we talk now, the charlatan teachers are still there selling this WhatsApp group to invite more learners into them. So they should get some of us into those WhatsApp groups. Let's pick these teachers and expose them to the government. If they can have their salaries suspended.
Yeah, thank you very much. I see we have a lot here. Maybe Mr. Bake will still get back to you. Maybe just for 3 seconds. What do you tell the parents who are the ones pay this money into this kind of WhatsApp group when this thing comes up, or maybe to get maybe these GC papers? I don't know where they get them from. There are parents who pay 10,000, those who pay 15,000, 20,000 francs.
My dear parents, you would have paid money to train a thief as a child.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Bake. Thank you very much, Mr. Elvis. Mr. Ivo, thank you very much. And Mr. Mike, you realize that we still have a lot. The students are there, the parents are there, the guardians. There's a lot to tell these students. They have for 42 days to go with practicals as far as GCR ordinary level and advanced level, baccalaureate, probatoire, and CAP is concerned. Thank you for being with us today. I want to thank Brother Ambrose, all those, the technical bench there, that God may continue to bless them, and to the Bishop Michael Bibi, #1 supporter and promoter of this TV, that God may bless you. Stay blessed. See you tomorrow. Good night.